Thank you for watching here on YouTube. I think the title says Try It For Yourself. Try it for yourself. So if you're not familiar with me, I invite you to check out the description box as well as well over 2,000 videos here, as well as click on the links to the other platforms where I have content there as well. Okay, if you're not familiar, I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse, as is my son. We're targeted individuals. And let's just say this has been a very long journey of discovery with all types of personality disorders, antagonistic personality disorders, unraveling the layers of abuse. And so I was just watching something as I'm doing some organizing here, and it triggered this conversation I'm about to have with y'all. Okay. So try this for yourself. One of the things that the survivors go through in life with their relationships is that people do not have a problem. The people that they have dealt with closely do not have a problem with hurting them and betraying them and really devastating them. They justify whatever their behaviors are, and they don't have a problem. They don't care about how that could have affected the collective or the target individual. However, these are the same people who are entitled when they feel as if they have been affected or hurt in the very same ways that they have hurt people. It's a daunting task to try to unravel covert abuse. It's a daunting task to try to unveil passive aggressive, covert, behind the scene, collapsed abuse, narcissistic abuse that's not just something that you can look at physically. So one of the things that the survivors could start trying for yourself, and this could be also for onlookers too, trying this for yourself to help you to get to truth for yourself. Okay? Now, remember, the targeted individuals have dealt with people who did not have a problem with breaking their heart. They did not have a problem with creating or causing devastation to them. Okay? When the targeted individuals pull their energy back, their time, their energy, their attention, their focus, when they put a boundary or they walk away, and it has to be for a significant amount of time, because if it's something short-lived, people may go, it's a phase. But once this is finality, this is where you're going to get the behaviors that are hard to trace. It's daunting trying to unravel covert abuse. Behind the scene, all those other types of things. It's not an easy task, but one of the things that you can try, and it's very simple, it's very basic, it's not profound, it ain't deep, but it does require moxie, and it requires tenaciousness. It requires one being steadfast to get to that phase, because that's where you're going to evoke and trigger the truth. Okay? Because these are energies that feel betrayed. Okay? They feel betrayed. They feel some kind of way about that. They are not able to see, or they do see, and they just simply don't care about how they have betrayed the collective or other people, how they have negatively impacted them, how they were ruthless and heartless. They don't care. They justified their actions for that. When people just simply decide to say no, no is it's a big, powerful word. But when that is backed by, I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm just gone. I'm gone. There's no further conversations. We're not going to just be friends. We're not going to play that game and keep the door open so you can have access to my energy when you already know that you have ill will and hidden dishonor. Okay? I'm gone. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to seek you out. I'm not going to try to have any closure. I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm no longer going to try to anything. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to allow myself to get into that. I'm not going to care about your health and well-being. You didn't care about mine. I'm gone. This is where all of the behind the scene campaigns begin. Or should I say, where they escalate. People that are abusive and toxic, okay, when people no longer wish to have anything to do with them, or will no longer willingly give them access, when those individuals keep that boundary and stand in their truth about the real of what took place, then these people decide to, because it's teaching you how to discover who is unwell, who truly, because often these personalities, if they're sociopathic in nature, then they're very charismatic. If they're sociopathic in nature, they may have a trillion friends because, people pleasing type stuff, rubbing shoulders, hobnobbing, clout chasing, right? Basically buying friends and so forth, or just to fit in and all of those things. And so they have it makes it harder to detect when you're dealing with this subsector of people. So if you try it for yourself with people and see what it morphs into, if you decide that you don't want anything to do with them the way they decided they don't want nothing to do with you, because remember, as I said, these are people who did not have a problem. They have a pattern. They do not have a problem ghosting people. They do not have a problem putting people out of their vehicles. They do not have a problem shutting people out. They don't have a problem gossiping and running their mouths. They themselves do not have a problem doing any of that when they feel justified in it. But the moment people, even for the right reasons, even for healthier reasons, decide, hey, I'm going to cut this off. I'm not going to have another conversation. Because I shouldn't have to have a conversation with adults past a certain age, trying to coerce them into truths that they should be giving anyway. We're just not going to play that game. It's not a matter of how I word something. It's not a matter of how sweetly I say it. It's not a matter of if I sandwich it between compliments. It's not a matter of time. It's just a matter of they're an adult. Chances are they knew full well what they were doing. So there's no need for me to be going about talking about, well, I want to have a clean slate, good conscience. Well, you get to a point where you realize you already have good conscience when you didn't do anything wrong, and when people did not treat you properly and have, so you're already in good conscience. Okay? If you want to discover, put up a boundary, do something that you know that person or people or group would have a bitch fit or hissy fit about, and stand on it. Don't bend, don't yield, don't move. And stand on it for a time, so that you can then pay attention to the background subtle energy that's going to start to happen. All of a sudden, you may start feeling some strange things, because for some of you, then these are the people who go, hire root workers and one person and another to do something to you. So you'll start to sense that. It, depending on the level of connections or power the person have, then you will discover some odd things seeming to slowly happen there as you have stood on that boundary. For some of you, where it's a little bit more perverse and more serious, these people will hire hitmen to take you out. Yes. They would hire hitmen to poison you, to try to inflict some kind of physical harm to you and your children. Mm-hmm. And this is what helps you to learn, like, you know what? Not everything is quite as it seems. Because the moment you put up a boundary, people are ready to kill you. The moment you walk away from people, people are ready to try to cause actual harm to your physicality. Whereas you walk away realizing that somebody don't have your best interest at heart, realizing that somebody is mistreating you, and your action is walk away. Their action is kill. Rob, steal, kill, and destroy. There, and a part of it is clumped in if you decided to speak your truth about it. And if that's not a gang mentality, a cult mentality, or mental illness, then I don't know what is. Because the targeted individual is the one that was violated and decided to remove themselves from the situations as best they could. See, it's not always in how somebody is talking and presenting. And I think that a lot of people do get tricked by this. It's not always in the character witnesses that somebody could muster up and pay up to get. It's not always in, the amount of networks and connections somebody have. I mean, we're seeing in the news right now. I don't know why we're acting brand new as a race of beings. We're seeing it in the news right now with Hollywood, the whole Diddy thing. Okay. And so we're looking at the backdrop, but what we're failing to understand is, look at the charisma, look at the clout, look at the connections. And if healthiness and mental health and wellness and rightness was based on that, then we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing in the news today. He was the life of the party, right? He was the life of the party. Everybody wanted to be around. Everybody, yeah. So we have to be careful with those types of things. And because, by the way, humans have a tendency to always want to be around people with the money and the party and the fun and the snacks and the resources and the connects. You ain't got to be a genius to understand that. To learn how to gauge these subtle things. Okay? This is some of the stuff that has to be enacted. Because only then is when you're going to get a trigger effect of what's hiding beneath them, under them craniums. It's going to trigger. It's unfortunate that it gets there, but it is going to trigger these people to act out. And it's not that the collective is trying to trigger them to act out. It's the fact that by way of the collective's decisions to hold a boundary and to cut people off and to speak the truth about it, it's the fact that that type of decision is triggering people's murderous ways. People's mental illness getting inflamed, that is pushing them into actions to do criminal acts against people. That's what needs to be looked at. Because if you flip the story, no matter what the targets have gone through or how they've approached these things, they decided to leave. It's very simple. They decided boundary. They found out they were mistreated. They found out they were done dirty. They found out people was talking shit to them, and they decided to bounce. They decided, very well, thank you for revealing your true colors. I want absolutely nothing to do with you. Okay? And I'm going to tell the truth about it. That's where it dropped for the collective. They didn't go on a murderous hunt. They didn't go on, oh, so you were playing me behind my back, now I'm finna to pay somebody to poison your ass. It's like, that's what reveals mental illness. That's what reveals the truth. Because again, and these are people, I feel like what happens is these be a bunch of people that are entitled, a bunch of people that have never been told no, a bunch of people that's trauma bonded, that has a lot of people trauma bonded to them, that has a lot of people under their spell, that has a lot of people. And so as a result, they're not used to anybody having the audacity to willingly walk away and stay away and to speak on the behavior. They're not used to not being held in fake high honor and people singing their praises and doiting and chasing and doing anything to be a part of the club and the group. And when people are not used to that and they have severe things going on, this is when it becomes a project. I'm going to use my connections at Housing Authority. I'm going to use my connections at Walmart. I'm going to use my connections in an apartment complex. I'm going to use my connections with Uber or Lyft. I'm going to use my connections with work from home offices and businesses. I'm going to use my connections with churches. I'm going to use my connections okay? These are entitled people who aren't used to that. Remember, when we get honest, if we all get honest, those of us who have been close enough to any of these people or these beings, you know that they themselves have a pattern of, being dismissive, right? Dismissive, disregarding, silent treatmenting, ghosting. They themselves, those of you who are honest and you've been close enough to these people, you know that they have a pattern of that behavior. Because for some of you, chances are they did it to you. Chances are you all have had a pattern of it. You just don't know that you're trauma bonded to them. And they justify that. They feel like you put them in a bad mood. They feel entitled to be able to deal with you if they want to deal with you, or play with you when they want to play with you, talk to you when they want to talk to you or not, or if they just want to walk away because they have something better to entertain, a higher bidder. But people deciding to end it and let it stay ended with them is looked upon as the ultimate betrayal, punishable by poison, theft, and harassment. stalking and trolling. But to the world. So don't try to have a conversation with these types of people, because you're not going to get resolve. What you're about to get is a nice little fun twisted game of word salad and manipulation. Okay? Rather, simply observe. And if you are someone that they are reliant upon in some way, whatever that source of energy is that they're reliant upon or used to, put a boundary and say no. And you don't even have to do this in an ugly way. This is not about rolling your head and rolling your eyes and being loud. It's simply you're doing an evaluation for yourself, so that you're not going on nobody else's word. You're not believing someone else. You're not putting it based on what someone else is trying to tell you. You're taking matters into your own hand. You're taking authority over your life and your relationships, and you are learning for you. Because the therapist can only give you all their theories. You have to go home and live your relationships. So that is you learning different ways to try to figure out what you're dealing with. People can put on outfits. We all wear avatars, right? We all are multifaceted and have different sides to us. But that's not what we're talking about. People can play like they're mentally well. Once again, I'm going to reference Hollywood. I'm going to reference just life and history as we know it. And it's not until the backdrop of it where we're seeing the truth. So if they're sociopathic and they have resources and power, they can play mentally ill. They can be, yes, they can. They can play like they're mentally well. Often taking on the personas of their targets. Because they do not have a true identity of their own. So the more subtle approach, quiet, subtle, and as you observe and evaluate the things, the energy, the vibe, the sense, what you feel into, and the things that happen post you deciding in that case to say no. Whatever that is. And don't get into an argument. Don't go back and forth, because this is also a part of it. That entitled energy. You don't owe explanations. You can give as you see fit, but then after that, drop it, because they're trying to plug into your head. What they're doing, they're trying to get in your head. They're trying to get you to go round for round. They're trying to figure out what they can manipulate based on your responses. Be safe. Certainly, you want to be safe. You want to keep records. If you're anything like me at this point, I'm keeping record of everything, because I have plans with using everything in a court of law. So that's why I'm using apps. That's why I'm getting a certain kit so I can get filings done. I'm keeping records of everything, and this is how this ends up working for you. associations, businesses, but it requires, you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention. Because when it comes out, especially for you content creators on social media, that's all going to be brought into play. Okay? That's the subtle in the background approach. But you do have to be able to stand on it and let them spaz out. Because controllers will inevitably spaz out. Entitled, tyrant, God complex having mofos will inevitably, indefinitely spaz out. Because the longer you have a boundary, the madder they get. The longer you refuse to bow, the madder they get. So they will continue to hang themselves. Because their God complexes, their arrogance, their entitlement, that bullying energy is not going to let them, it's not going to let them in peace. It's not going to let them not attempt some shit. It's not. Them trying to break you is going to work for you. Them trying to make you have a mental breakdown. Them trying to harass you and stress you out and pretend like they're not doing it. Them trying to gather all the pygmishas and pygmishas in the universe with mental illness and codependency issues and trauma bonded problems to come against you. They're not going to be able to stop. But this is how you get to the truth. And this is how the truth eventually is exposed to the world. Because these people are very strong actors. And they put up a very good show. And they have a lot of people convinced. Much like Hollywood. Until all of that nasty shit, unfortunately, comes out to the surface. But you want to know what bothers me about the Diddy trials? And all these people coming out? And, people, all of a sudden, people crying and people, talking about they need to, do their part and shit. I feel some kind of way about that. Because I'm like, nigga, no, That's not what you were saying 10 years ago. You let it be and you didn't care. See, I'm calling bullshit. It's unfortunate that someone has to die, somebody that was brave enough to speak about something have to die for, you know what I'm saying, all these motherfuckers out the woodworks that know full well shit was what it was. I know it's difficult. I'm not going to say I don't get the ramifications, but I'm looking at it as I've been reviewing this shit, the Diddy shit. I'm like, all you motherfuckers, which now all these people, all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? Where was your whole ass, 10 years ago? Here's what the real truth is. None of these motherfuckers cared that much. Some of these people were too cowardly to speak and afraid themselves. Others of them, they didn't care because it did not directly affect them and theirs. That's just, we might as well just call it and stop playing. They didn't care. And I'm glad though that this is happening like this for me, because it's just only validating the shit I've been saying. It's validating the truth about most humans, even the ones that we look up to. Because, like, oh, you ain't shit either, nigga. You ain't shit either. Your whole ass was fine, just like right now. And now you crying in the court. And, just to pull this all in together, it's not until enough people can get into a vibe. That woman lost her life, whatever that is, whoever it was, somebody lost their life behind this shit and, speaking the truth. And now then everyone else comes after. The reason why I'm glad is because it's going to help humanity. It's going to help the world to really look at that most of what we own is bullshit and most of what we talking is bullshit, and people that we're looking up to because of their glitz and their glam and their characters in these movies and these programs and their charities and all that stuff, if you only knew. The problem with abuse is just this: nobody's strong enough, long enough, which has only served to overinflate the abuser to begin with, which is why when someone does come along and say, I'm not going to stand for this, I am going to speak out against your behavior and your conduct towards me, I don't care who you are or your title, I'm not going to deal with you. I don't care how many holes you got up your bum singing your praises. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be in competition, and I'm not going to accept less than what I deserve. And I'm going to stand on business. When this kind of stuff happens to these people, it makes them go berserko. Because we've lived in a world where we're catering to narcissistic behavior. And we're willing to do anything until we evolve past those ways of being. I'll pretend, I'll just stand there and make nice because I need $54 million. I'll do it. I'll just pretend like I didn't see the utter grotesque, sick, perverse shit done to innocent children, bitch. Because I want this part in the movie that I can make it big. And for those of us on the low level scale, ghetto style, ghetto version, so I can get that Walmart gift card, so I can have groceries for the month, so I can, what I'm saying, pay that rent, so I can get the charges dropped, so I can. Hey, I love it, because to me I was like, we're getting somewhere. Yes. It's been a long time coming, and it's about time. It's about time. Anyway, I hope that this helps, okay? Viewer discretion is advised. Be wise, grounded, and practical in your life with this. I am certainly not advising you all to do anything that'll put yourself at risk, okay? Be wise about that. Seek any guidance, professional help that you have resources to do, okay? But as you're trying to evaluate these things, these are the subtle, covert approaches when you're trying to unravel and unveil covert abuse, okay? When there's a possibility that you're dealing with sociopathic energy, okay? All right, guys.